Thank you, Aditya ji, for the kind words. Honorable Justice Ramamurthy, Lalit Bhasin ji has gone, Shiv Shankar Prasad ji, Garg Saab, Bhatkal Saab, other distinguished persons. It's such a great honor to be at this Energy Summit. Can I have a mic? Yeah, thank you very much. Now, I feel more free that way. Now, when we say my topic today is Supreme Court approach to the energy sector. Now, as a student of law from 1978, I have now experience of 38 years of 38 years of student of law, and since 1992, Supreme Court practitioner, so almost 24 years as a practitioner. Now, when I started practice, the Supreme Court approach was towards energy, and particularly nuclear energy, what I will call an approach of apprehension. That what will happen if there is a disaster, what will happen. So much more environmental concern. That was in 1994. I myself argued a case against Chief Minister of Odisha, getting a ban on all the projects on the ground of environment of 862 crore rupees project. So I was pro-environmentalist at that time. In 2012 now, the Supreme Court has come all full circle. Now I'll quote that Supreme Court from apprehension, now it has come to comprehension, understanding what it takes to be in the energy sector. Example is that Kundukulam nuclear power project. There what happened, that nuclear project was to be established with the help of Russia in Madras, and public interest litigators challenged that the damage to life, fear of Chernobyl kind of a accident. Madras High Court rejected those petitions. It came to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court in a brilliant decision has said, and this is very important, that where the justification for the existence of a project is overriding, the justification will succeed and apprehension will fail. It's a very different approach. That earlier it was, oh, what will happen? So it was apprehension. Now it is comprehension. When you understand that the benefits outweighs the disadvantages, then in that case, project is to be saved. And Kundukulam nuclear power project has been saved, though Supreme Court has been careful in issuing 15 guidelines for safety, which they should do, including International Atomic Energy Safety Guidelines. So now, in Supreme Court, there are two issues. Development on the one hand, and environmental preservation on the other. And it required the strategic balance, as the Honorable Justice Ramamurthy rightly said, that how to have this economic growth without causing serious imminent danger to the environment. But we talk about pollution. In Supreme Court, I said, nothing is more polluting than poverty. So let's go to the fundamental things. As Ashwani ji also said in the beginning, that what kind of a structure we need from command to the market-driven economy, but slight more sophistication is also needed. I was at Harvard Law School competing against Harvard Business School. And the business school, you know, all the time talk about market. And we in law school all the time talk about rules and regulation. So the question was whether merger and acquisition really help the society. Now, to the society, on behalf of Harvard Law School with data, we argued that merger and acquisition on the whole transfer the wealth from one group of the society to another group of the society. Only in 15% it creates wealth for the society. Otherwise, lawyers, managers, others are the beneficiary of merger and acquisition rather than the society. So now, when we talk about these things, and Honorable Justice Ramamurthy had touched something very, very important, that in India, energy is the first thing. In our Vedas, there are 4 purposes of life: dharma, arth, kam, moksha. Very powerful. I've been to USA, I taught at Oxford, but the best thing with the Indian culture has said, it's so wonderful, and in that sequence, dharma means you must understand what is your duty. You must understand what would be your contribution. And then you make earth, wealth, power. So first, the duty, then the wealth or power, then calm means satisfaction of your desires, various market-oriented desires, shopping mall, apart from physical desires and all that. If you do that in that manner, then there will be moksha, freedom. No entanglement, freedom. But if you don't do that, like for example America, if you place money at everything else, then you will be lost. So, in India also, Supreme Court or High Court, whatever, I have the privilege of arguing this Power Grid Corporation case before National Electricity Commission. And what was the issue? At the time I was representing Power Grid. So we, with great effort, got some foreign investor to invest in power sector in India. And naturally we gave them some incentive. And they wanted certain rate of return. Now, Electricity Commission came out with some guidelines. No, you can't charge more than the bank rate. So we argued that, look, bank rate is a safe thing. Your money is safe. Though not so much Naveen Malia's case and all that. But generally it's safe. But when a foreign investor comes to India, there are a lot of uncertainty. So give us at least 16% internal rate of return. Judges said, no, we can't do that. So we challenged their guidelines. We challenged their guidelines. We challenged jurisdiction of Electricity Commission. They didn't agree with us. We came to High Court. And fortunately for me, Harish Salve was Solicitor General. I was representing Power Grid. We were on the same side. We were not opposed to each other. And finally, we agreed on certain guidelines. So it worked. But what struck me was, with great respect to Honorable Justice Ramamurthy, that many of our judges, not all, many of our judges do not have a sophisticated understanding of economic system at all. Like they were talking about fair competition, but not about return on investment. Why an investor will come to India unless we have a fair return on investment? It took us a lot of convincing by my brother Harish Salve and me before the judges could say that yes, fair return should also be there. So that was the approach. Now, fortunately, Supreme Court has raised its antenna, and now in Kundu-Kulam nuclear policy case of 2012, they have come out with brilliant balance between, they are saying that nuclear energy is needed for India. There is a justification. Experts have said it is safe. So if an expert has said it's safe, then we will not allow this project to be died down only because some people are protesting. And people were protesting for 630 days. It is only after 630 days, Supreme Court decision said, all right, we will allow the project, means development, but at the same time, safety. So that is the right balance. Development first, safety afterwards. Because if there is no project, there is no question of safety or there is no question of growth also. If you do something, you may succeed, you may fail. But if you do nothing, I'll guarantee you, you will not succeed. So in life, first thing is growth. Second thing is risk management. Risk management cannot be the overriding consideration. Unfortunately, in India, people are so much risk-driven. Now, of course, Ashwani ji said market-driven, but with great respect, I have the privilege of representing many business houses and meeting some of the top businessmen here, apart from cabinet ministers and members of parliament and all that. Indian businessman is so much apprehensive of risk averse. In America, if anything I learned, that first you question the authority, you respect, but question. You think of creativity. If Silicon Valley people were not thinking of creativity, Google, Microsoft, Apple would not have been there. I was talking to Samir Bhatia, who invented Hotmail, because of which we are connected. Samir Bhatia came to me in connection with some investment. So I asked him, what is the difference between IT sector here and in Silicon Valley? He said, sir, in India, we don't invest much in research. In America, out of 100 ideas, 99 ideas fail. But 1% idea which succeeds makes so much money that is much, much more than what the 99 have cost. In India, we have no sense of risk for failure. We want the answers already, even before raising the question. That's not the way life is done. I have read Vedas, Gita. At that time, you know why Vedas were so powerful? They were questioning. There was the energy. Energy is in the question, not in the answer. When you question a thing, you start really looking at the thing for the first time. As T.S. Eliot has said in his famous Fourth Quartet, we should not cease from our exploration. And the end of all our exploration is to arrive at the place we started from and to see the things beneath our feet for the first time with new eyes. Same